Hi, I'm Bruce, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some tricks and tips as a beekeeper. Now, today it is a overcast, a little bit rainy day, and I asked the bees if they minded if I went into them, and they said no. Bruce, you come into us today, we're going to sting you. All right, fair enough. Now, what does this mean? Well, it just means that I know my bees. And so I want to say the first tip I have for you as a beekeeper is to get knowledge. So how do you get knowledge? Well, I recommend that you take classes, right? There's some great classes available out there. I recommend you listen to podcasts. I listen to podcasts all the time if I'm out riding my bicycle or out for a walk. It's really good. You just download these apps on your phone to listen to podcasts and do a quick search for beekeeper stuff. Some that I recommend, the Two Bees and a Podcast. Two Bees and a Podcast. That's put out by the University of Florida's Extension Lab. Jamie Ellis and Amy Vu, top-notch scientists, really interesting podcast. Beekeeper's Corner is a good one. Kevin. I like Beekeeper Confidential. The Hive Jive. That's very entertaining. Good stuff. You learn a lot. So podcasts are good. YouTube videos. Okay, now be a little careful with your YouTube videos. The reason I say that is the things we do down here in Florida don't always apply to the things that people do in a more northern climate. Okay? But watching YouTube videos definitely helps. Shameless plug. I hear this guy Bruce and his bees has got pretty good videos. You should check him out. Okay, what else? Okay, inspections. Don't be afraid to inspect your hives. Don't be afraid to just go into them, okay? Get your smoker going, put your veil on, and inspect your hives, okay? Now, you should go into them regularly. Now, I don't mean every 5 days, and it is a little bit of a setback to them if you go into them, especially if you go into them too often, because they have to replace propolis you break and so forth. But inspecting your bees, they don't mind. They do not mind. I mean, unless it's overcast and rainy like today, and then they'll let you know. But if you go into your bees, when you're inspecting, you want to look for any kind of problems that's starting to develop in your beehive. Okay? So when I open them up, I want to see food supplies. I want to make sure they got food. If they're starving, if they're hungry, I want to feed them. That's part of what I have to do, but I got to know, and I got to look to know. I'm looking at how is their queen. Now, a lot of times, just looking at the brood will tell you how the queen is. Okay, you don't always have to see her in an inspection. But if you have a nice pattern of capped brood, if you have larvae of different stages of development, and even eggs, real tiny, hard to see. But all those things looking good gives you a good indication of a nice, healthy queen. Okay. Another thing is the mood of the bees. If I go into there and they're all frantic and stuff, a lot of times that means there's a problem with the queen. She might be gone. She might be ill. Okay. So mood, food, and brood of the bees. But on the topic of inspections, okay, here in Florida, beekeepers are required to register with the Florida Department of Agriculture. It's an easy process. It doesn't cost much on an annual basis, but we get an inspection once a year from the Florida Department of Agriculture. Don't be afraid of it. This is a good thing. The inspectors, now, they're looking for diseases in your hive. They're looking for things that might make you a menace to other beekeepers and other people in your society, but it's a very positive thing. They're knowledgeable people, and they're there to help. And you can bounce questions off of them, and they'll show you a lot of interesting things on an inspection. So don't be afraid of that, okay? So don't be afraid of inspections, okay? I'm going to talk to you about a few other tricks and tips. So let's see how it goes. All right. Always hang up swarm traps. Now, you can certainly do things to prevent a swarm. You can do preemptive splits, for example, but hanging these traps up, sometimes you'll have a swarm get away from you. And giving them a place to go is really good to be a good neighbor and not mess with the people who live around you. Also, on these swarm traps, notice that these are 5 frames wide. I put 5 deep frames in them, and they're 20 inches long, and so that means that roughly the cavity inside that box is about the same as a Langstroth 10 frame deep box. So that's supposed to be just about the right size that a bee swarm's looking for. I guess I'm going to have to get some more swarm traps. Wow. So we're going to bottle some honey in a few minutes here. I want to show you a quick tip. A lot of times when you put honey in your bucket, you get foam on top. That's natural. It doesn't hurt anything, and there's nothing wrong with that foam. It doesn't taste bad or anything, but it is a little bit unsightly for your customers. So what you can do is actually use a little bit of this plastic wrap. So what you do is you just kind of lay it on inside and lay it down right on top of the honey. I want to get fairly good coverage. Now, I've washed my hands before I got into this, you know. Okay, I'm just going to take my knife and cut this off. Need to sharpen my knife, apparently. Okay, so now I'm just going to work this down on top of all this honey. You're going to want to have a trash bag handy if you do this. So now I'm just going to pull it right off. And very little waste, and right in the trash. There's just a little bit there, and I'll clean that up with a spoon. So anyway, that's just a quick tip before you bottle honey. Thanks. Okay, well, this concludes my tricks and tips video, and I hope you've got some value from it. There's a lot more things that you could do and say. That there's a lot of people are doing stuff. Now, if you have a particular trick or tip that you want to share in the comments, I would appreciate it. It's good stuff. But anyway, that'll be it for today. So this is Bruce, my bees. See you next time.